It seems like we ask this question every week. When is Phat Burnette going to commit to the Auburn Tigers?
Freezing temperatures are likely for several hours inland and a few hours closer to the coast.
Yahtzee.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Cole Pinkston with AuburnLive.com and On3 joining us for a little Cruton Thursday action. And Cole, I know you guys are probably tired of being asked this question because folks at AuburnLive.com, the corner message board, probably ask you all the time. But Phat Burnette, I mean, it seems like we've been waiting for him to pop for so long. What are you hearing?
Yeah, man, Zach, I'm happy to be here.
Sure.
I appreciate it. Good question. Good question. I don't know. You know, he came out in November, put out a top 10, and in the tweet he said committing soon. Yeah. So that kind of alerted us, and we're like, well, you know, he's a really big Auburn target, and of course that was in between staffs there. So we were like,
sure,
interesting. So you know, now we are in March and nothing's happened. We still think Auburn sits in a pretty good spot, or at least I do. I feel like
he loves Caddy, right?
He does. He does. He loves Cadillac. I think he loves Auburn. You know, he's from Andalusia, Alabama. If you've never been there, it's a small little town. Sure. South Alabama, very close to the Florida line down there. So, you know, I think there's that hometown feel at Auburn. Like some of those kind of guys get, those guys that are from out in the country, get that hometown feel from Auburn. And I think he has that. You know, one of his cousins is Alvin Henderson, who's a 5-star running back for the 2025 class. Right. And I visited him recently, and he was like, yeah, you know, I think my cousin might go there too. So there's a lot of things there that have made me believe Auburn is sort of in the driver's seat with this one. As far as the timeline, man, I don't know. You know, we're on alert with this guy, so it could happen anytime. It could happen 2 months from now, or it could happen today. You never know. So,
yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with him.
I mean, pretty close right now.
If it's not Auburn, who do you think it is for Phat Burnette, Cole?
See, that's the question to me that is important, because after Auburn, you got Alabama, you've got South Carolina, Tennessee, just some of those schools, but I really couldn't give you a clear-cut number two. I don't know how hard Alabama would push for him. I know they recruit nationally, and you never know. They might take the in-state guy, but they might have a guy in California that they want. You just never know with them. So we know Auburn has him near the top, and they may want more than one running back. So getting him in the boat pretty early would be a priority, I would think. So it's hard to name a clear-cut number two with him.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a good running back. So I don't want people to assume that I think otherwise when I ask this question, Cole. But because I mean, he's a bruiser, right? And some people have said he may not fit Hugh Freeze's scheme. I don't know if I buy that. Just being honest, I just don't know if I do.
Sure.
I think anybody in the SEC could take a bruising back. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But how much strategy is there in adding him so you've got a better shot at his cousin in 2025? Because Alvin Henderson, I mean, that is a special, special player.
He is, and he's been told that by Hugh Freeze and Cadillac in person.
Sure. I'm sure he's been told that by a lot of coaches in the SEC.
Yeah, he has. He did say specifically, though, you know, the way that they said it to me was interesting. This is what Alvin told me when I visited him in Elba not too long ago. But I also asked him, you know, what if Burnette, your cousin, committed to Auburn? What if he went to Auburn? Would it be a big deal? He goes, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. You know, it's us being in the same backfield, I think would be really big, is what he told me. So, yeah, he would consider it because of him. But at the same time, I think they like Burnette individually, and he is a bigger back. And, you know, you don't really see a lot of bigger backs if you go and look back at Hugh Freeze's offense, but why not? What would be the problem? You know,
right.
Third down guy. If you're wanting to play multiple guys, he's sort of your short yardage guy. But at the same time, and I think it was Rice on our message board over at the corner on Auburn Live who made a comparison to Javon Robinson, who used to play for Auburn.
Did he play for Auburn?
You have to think hard. Yeah, he did. He had a little stint. But if you remember Robinson, he was the taller guy, bigger guy, but he cut well. He made, he was able to run between the tackles and go outside and do things that a bigger back normally can't do. And I think Burnette's that guy.
Yeah. Another guy that seems close to committing to Auburn, Joseph Phillips, excuse me,
Yes.
the Tuskegee linebacker. What are you hearing from him? Do you think he pops soon?
Yes, because he told me when I visited him in Tuskegee about 2 weeks ago that he will commit at the end of March. So we have sort of a hard line. We don't have a date yet, but he said end of March. What he's going to do first, he's going to take several visits to all of his top schools. This is a guy, and he's been straight up with me. He's like, look, I've only seen Auburn, really. I've been there a few times. I haven't really gotten out and gotten to see all these places that are recruiting me. He's been to Florida. He's been to Alabama. Now he wants to see Georgia, Texas A&M. There's some other schools there. So he's going to visit all those places and then have a decision. He thinks it's important to go ahead and get in the class and get his spot. He told me that too, of who he chooses. And right now, I give Auburn the edge. I gave them a prediction on 3. So I think there's a really good chance. I think he's high on Auburn. I think they've made him a priority, and that means something to him.
How do you see him being used in a Ron Roberts system? Is he an outside guy? Is he an inside guy? Could he possibly play Jack? What are your thoughts on how he could be used in the next level here?
Yes, he's an outside guy, I think.
Okay.
And a lot of that is because he's more of your hybrid Jack, what they're starting to use here, which is basically the edge that we've heard about, that they've used in past years. It's the same kind of deal, but he'll play in space a little bit more than likely. I think he can play in space, and I think he can rush the edge, and I think he can play traditional linebacker. He's one of those talents.
Yeah. Cole Pinkston, our guest today, Auburn recruiting expert over at auburnlive.com. And on 3, Cole, I want to ask you about a California tight end, as well as some other tight ends in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. We're past the midway point of the NBA season. Now is the time to get in on the action with FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers at FanDuel get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. I'll take $1,000. It's all in bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Or head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, the NFL, and the Locked On Podcast Network. Cole, you've got a story up pretty recently at auburnlive.com about Ryner Swanson, 3-star tight end from California. Sounds like he's been talking with the Auburn coaching staff and likes what they have to say so far.
Great name, by the way, right?
Totally.
It's an awesome name.
Great name.
He's a cool guy, man. I talked to him on the phone actually last night. Put that story up this morning. He is coming down April 7th with a guy that's also from California who's a class of 2025, and he's got every offer over there, USC, Oregon, all those, big ones. So a couple of guys from California, they're coming down. Swanson does not have an Auburn offer yet. I would not be shocked if he left with one. Ben Agamawa, I think that's how you say it.
Tight ends coach.
Yes, the tight ends coach. Coach Ben, a lot of recruits call him to me.
Sure.
He's leading the charge there. He likes him. I thought the quote that stood out that Ryner told me was, he said, look, I'm not from around here, but when you get to Auburn, you feel like you belong, that you want to stay. And you'll feel that way when you come down here too. So he talked him into it. I thought it was interesting. And I gave him a call, and he was like, yeah, man, of course, SEC. I got to go see it.
Right. Are there other SEC schools really involved with him, or is Auburn the first SEC school to get out there to him?
He only named one other, and it's Ole Miss. And that's one that's offered him, and that was the other one. So
Got it. What are you hearing about Coach Ben from recruits? I mean, does he seem like one of those kind of ace recruiters? Can he pull off something like this? And then we'll talk about Landen Thomas in a second as well, as far as, getting in an elite tight end? What do you expect his recruiting prowess to look like, Cole?
Yeah, I think he's going to be good. He's
Yeah.
seems to have a good rapport with guys. I think he's a good with personal relationships. He's a player's coach. But, when people ask me that question, I always think, what does he have helping him? Because I promise you, there's really good recruiters at, smaller schools, Georgia State,
Sure.
Troy, places like that. But sometimes you need the help of a place like Auburn. Sometimes you need the help of your depth chart. Hey, we got 3 seniors at tight end. And it's all about how that guy uses those pitches, right? So to me, number one, he's good at personal relationships. And number two, there is going to be a need at tight end moving forward, depending on how you use Rivaldo Fairweather, Landen King as well. And, I think that he's doing a really good job. He's got guys coming from California,
Yeah. Do you see Landen King still as a tight end?
No, I think he's probably a receiver. The term I like to use is flex.
Sure.
Kind of just in between. And Coach Ben, he did comment on that a few weeks ago. He's like, we've had him a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 meetings, just in case
Sure.
we need him, just in case we need to use him. But really and truly, he's been with Marcus. He's been with Marcus Davis and the receivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And that's what we saw earlier this week at practice, is primarily just that outside receiver. Staying on the topic of tight ends, Cole, Landen Thomas, the Georgia commit, there's a lot of smoke about Auburn possibly flipping this guy. Are you buying into that? How far away are we from that potentially happening? Is that just a pipe dream? Your thoughts on Auburn's recruitment of Landen Thomas?
Yeah, no, I'm not buying it yet. I did go and see him in person. He and his teammate Nykar, who's also committed to Georgia, saw them in person, talked to them for a good while, talked to their coach. I get the feeling that Auburn is sort of new with both of those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know how much the previous staff recruited them and just didn't hear their names at the time. I think they were offered by the previous staff. But this new staff has made them a priority, both of them. And even when I was there that day, Landen showed me, his phone. Hey, I just got a text from Walker White. And
of course you did. Right. That guy's crazy.
Right. He read me the whole text. He's like, hey, man, we want big guys like you coming and blocking and catch passes over here, man. Come be a Tiger, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, Nykar had a phone call from Hugh Freeze right after I left. So they're all over it. Okay. They're all over these guys. Is Auburn in position to flip? I wouldn't go that far. I think it's going to be tough on Thomas. He's a top guy, right? And Georgia went ahead and locked him down. And I think he's pretty solid with them right now. We got a long way to go. And I think they're going to, fight for him all the way like they do most of the time. And we'll see what happens. But right now, I say Georgia's got the upper hand for sure.
As far as, you talk about using your pitches, right? How important is the use of Rivaldo Fairweather in the offense in 2023 for flipping a guy like that?
Yeah, that's going to be important. That's going to be important because he is actually a tight end, right?
Yes, right.
And he's more of a receiving guy. He wasn't brought in to block. Okay, he's gonna attach to the line of scrimmage at times, maybe even split out like Landen King would. Mm-hmm. But the guy was not brought in because he's an excellent blocker. He's brought in because he's a receiver. So, if that's the case, if they brought him in to do that and they actually use him in that way, like we hope they do, yes, that would be big for recruiting.
He had some pretty impressive snags in the 20-minute window that we had. There was one, I've talked about it all week, Cole, where like Holden Geriner threw him a high pass and like Rivaldo just like floated in the air. Like he jumped up to get it. I thought he jumped too early. He just like never came down. And then the ball hit and then he finally landed on his feet. And it's like, goodness gracious, that guy's athletic.
Yes. You can tell, man. He's sort of on another level of athleticism out there. And you go, man, that's a tight end. Wow. He kind of runs like a receiver, which he does. He's big enough to play tight end. He's big enough to block if he had to. But he's a mismatch. You get him matched up with a linebacker or somebody, and then he's outrunning them. But if you match him up with the DB, he's bigger. So what do you do, right?
Well, it seemed like there was Luke Deal and Tyler Fromm together, and it was Rivaldo Fairweather and Micah Riley Ducker together. Did you kind of get that vibe too, where it's like these are the blocking guys, these are the receiving guys that can block if we need them to? Did you kind of get that vibe?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and Luke Deal, man, that guy does not get talked about enough, in my opinion. I really think he's an excellent open field blocker, excellent blocker as an almost extra lineman on the line of scrimmage there.
Sure,
dude. When they went to the Cadillac and Will Friend style of offense at the end of the year, that guy was the key to success in that offense. If you go back and watch, the dude is blocking all the way downfield. He's another lineman on the field.
And we'll need that. We'll need that with Hunter and Austin and Batee and Cobb, whoever's running it. They'll need that for sure. For sure. All right, we continue our conversation. There's a 5-star wide receiver, Cole, that people keep asking about. Don't know if Auburn's really involved. We'll have to see. That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Want to encourage you to join the Locked On Auburn Discord. It's free. All you have to do is click the link in the episode description down below, or check out auburnlive.com, where you can check out all of Cole's stuff, Keith Niebuhr's stuff. I mean, you guys have an incredible staff over there. Be sure to check it out, auburnlive.com. Mike Matthews, 5-star wide receiver, Cole. Parkview, he's a Georgia kid. Auburn folks really, really interested in him. But every time I look up stuff on him, there's no Auburn tied to him whatsoever. Where are you as far as Auburn's chances for the 5-star wide receiver, Mike Matthews?
Yeah, man. Well, what my impression was, the guy is not even close to narrowing things down. And maybe he is. Maybe he threw me off a little bit there, but it's always possible. But he named so many schools that he wants to see. I mean, he named them all. And he's like, I forgot a few, actually. He said, I don't want to leave anybody out, because I am going to visit all of these schools. So he's got a long way to go. I think, which
is good for Auburn, right? That he's got a long way to go.
Yeah, you would rather that than him, already
picking next week.
Down.
Yeah, right.
Auburn is offered him in basketball and football, and it's one of the only schools to do that so far. So that has gotten his attention, and I really don't think they had his attention before that. I don't think they had his attention before that, to be honest. So once again, like with Landen Thomas, sort of new here. I think they're sort of new here, and I think that's how it's going to be with several guys this year for this new staff. It's just, going through the cycle again.
Yeah. Can he play shooting guard? Because that'd be great.
I really don't know what he is in basketball. I'm assuming guard, because he is maybe 6 foot.
He's like 6'1". Yeah, something like that.
Right. I'm not having to look up at him like I am most of the guys, because I am vertically challenged. But
me and you both, brother. Me and you both.
It is what it is.
Yeah. The guy can move, though. So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully Auburn moves up his list.
I do think, Zach, they're going to have a chance when he visits.
Great. That's great news. Yeah, Marcus Davis will be all over him. Jac'Qawn McRoy, the 4-star offensive tackle from Clay Chalkville. You guys, the On3 prediction machine, you guys actually have Auburn in the lead, 27.1% chance of winning him. Arkansas is right behind at 23.7%. But what do you like about this guy? What do you like about Auburn's chances with him?
Well, first of all, he was one of the top performers at the camp that I was at this past weekend.
Okay.
He's big. He's the biggest guy there, number one, and he moves well for that size. So
he's a legitimate 6'8"?
Oh, yeah. He's 6'8" or 6'7". He's that's pretty close.
That's crazy.
Protection.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good player, in-state guy. I think he's got, it may take him a little while in college just to get everything down. It's part of playing offensive line, I think. But, you're not going to find a body like that with the athleticism to go with it too often. And, funny you say Arkansas. Every time I see him, he's got Arkansas stuff on. He's got Arkansas backpack, Arkansas gear all the time. But he told me, I think probably Arkansas, Oregon, Auburn, some of these schools are standing out, and, I'm not ready to have a decision or anything, but those are the ones. And I think Auburn's doing well with him. I don't know if they're the leader right now.
Okay.
I think that they're doing well with him, though, and he's going to be on campus several more times. So we'll see what happens there.
Cole, last guy I want to ask you about, and I really appreciate your time today. Bradley Shaw, the 4-star linebacker from Hoover. What are we hearing about him, and where is he as far as, considering Auburn? You guys on your prediction machine has Auburn at a 9.2% chance. Alabama's leading the way according to y'all's projections, but what are you hearing?
Bradley, man, he's another one of those really impressive athletes, guy that can project anywhere at linebacker, any of those spots. Interesting thing about Auburn's linebacker recruiting right now is that there are so many guys on that board. Josh Aldridge, assistant linebacker coach Josh Lynham, those guys are really making an impact on these guys, and I think they're going to have a shot to get a really nice linebacker class in there. As far as Bradley goes, man, I think Alabama's up there. I think Georgia, Florida, Auburn, those are probably the schools standing out. I really don't know yet. I can't get a good read on him whether Auburn's got a major shot in the end. I know they got a legitimate shot, but where do they stand today? I'm still trying to learn a little bit about him. So I think they're going to have a shot with him because Ron Roberts, several other coaches, Cadillac, he's actually the area recruiter for Birmingham, have been by to see him, and he's been really appreciative of that. So I think they're going to have a shot in the long run. I don't know if they can win out against those other schools I named. Like I said, I'll have to dig more into that one, but he's definitely one to watch.
Bradley Shaw's a great linebacker name.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Talk about Ryner Swanson being a good name. Yeah, Bradley Shaw's pretty good too. Pretty good too. How many linebackers? You mentioned a lot of linebackers on the board. How many do you think they take in this class?
That is a great question. I'm trying to figure that out myself because several guys that I've talked to say, look, Auburn's up there for me, and they are making me a priority. I mean, at least 5 or 6 guys have told me that. So
all at linebacker?
Yeah, and maybe that's why Joseph Phillips told me in person, I need to get my spot somewhere if I'm going to get it. It's not a bad strategy. It works. It's a good strategy. Yeah. And I don't know exactly who's above who yet. We're still learning that much. I know they want at least one inside linebacker, at least one jack, and they'll probably take more than that. That's my guess.
Yeah, I would think they would need more than that. But with the portal, how important are some of these things? So we'll see. Sure.
You never know.
Cole, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. How can folks sign up and check out for everything you guys have going on right now?
Yeah, actually, start of March. Today is March 1st. We got a new little deal. I promoted it last night. $10 will get you in for 4 months.
Wow.
That'll cover spring ball and a little bit into the summer recruiting circuit there. So, we're gonna keep it rolling between me, Keith Niebuhr, Jeffrey Lee, Justin Hokinson, and everybody else that helps us out. Man, we're gonna have the content. So definitely come join us if you haven't already. $10, 4 months, can't beat it.
That's right. I'm a subscriber at Auburn Live. It's worth every penny. And be sure to check out everything that Cole has going on. You can find all my written work at auburndaily.com. We will see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.